Welcome to the 15-Minute Patriot. I'm Ross, the Dude Maher from Rhode Island. I'm joined by my colleagues, Dave the Wild Man Wilder from Southeast Massachusetts and David Saad from the free state of Florida. We know there are many outlets and sites that you collect your news from, but here at the 15-Minute Patriot, we focus on what the news should prompt you to do. We focus on action steps. Knowledge is important, of course, but citizenship requires action. So even if you'll take just 15 minutes a month, you'll be pleasantly surprised to see what it is that you can accomplish. We, the people, are at the top of the government, and it's time to get involved. Lastly, we want to hear from you, and we want to hear about the things that you've done, the things that you've accomplished. So you can email us at 15minutepatriot@gmail.com. That's 15minutepatriot, all one word, at gmail.com, or on Facebook at 15-Minute Patriot, all spelled out, 15-Minute Patriot on Facebook. And with that, leading us from the free state of Florida is David Saad.
And tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about Social Security, something to which I'm on. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm on it. But in this year alone, 69 million Americans are going to be collecting Social Security benefits for a total of about $1.6 trillion throughout the whole year. For many seniors and disabled people, that is their primary source of income. And recently during a joint session of Congress, Trump claimed his administration was investigating Social Security for widespread fraud. I mean, we're finding out that people as old as 160 years old are on the Social Security dole. And according to a 2023 report that came out from the Inspector General, found that almost 19 million individuals born in 1920 or earlier lacked recorded death information in Social Security records, with 44,000 still receiving payments to this day. By contrast, U.S. Census Bureau data from 2020 reported only 80,139 centurions nationwide. Since 2015, the Social Security has implemented an automated system to halt payments as soon as somebody reaches age 115. Now, we've been hearing all over. In fact, the president last night talked about the amount of waste that they have found in other areas of the government. And Social Security, recently, I was telling the wild man off mic, that a man was just found to have 33 Social Security numbers, and he has been collecting over $1 million a year in Social Security benefits for the last several years. Just caught. And I think, Dave, Wildman, you mentioned something about Arizona.
Yeah, I think we want to separate fact from fiction. So I think Social Security is such a big program, and there's such incompetence in the database management. The inference is that there's a lot of fraud, and we don't really know how much fraud yet. But there was one example, and it was brought up by in the RSB network in Scottsdale, Arizona. Employers were giving out Social Security cards to illegal immigrants, and it turned out that 10,000 illegal immigrants had, wait for it, the same Social Security number. And there's nothing in the Social Security system that validates the number to the address to the name. So they continue to, be active in the Social Security system. The employer was paying taxes. The illegal immigrants use these Social Security numbers to get the cards to get, let's say, driver's licenses. If they have driver's licenses in some state, that means, well, gee, you must be a citizen, and therefore you vote. So those are the kind of things, little stories. Don't really know how big a problem it is with, what do you say, Dave, 1.6 trillion a year in Social Security payments?
Correct.
So a couple $1 billion is, a minutia in this vast pool of cash. But still, $1 billion here and there, you start to talk about real money.
But in 2024, an audit by the Inspector General showed that the Social Security had made $72 billion in improper payments between the years 2015 and 2022. as you just said, that's less than 1% of the $8.6 trillion dispersed over that time in benefits.
So
But
I want to take. Go ahead, Dave.
yes, no, go ahead.
So I want to take a slightly different approach on this particular comment that was just made, because I too had looked up all the same similar stats: the 44,000, the 72 billion, 2015 to 2022. I did some rough math. So 72 billion over 7 years, roughly $10 billion a year. It's still $10 billion. Right. And that's still a lot of money, regardless of how small of a percentage it is of a much larger pot. I think the way that I had done the math was, if I had the 72 billion divided by the 331 million people we have in the country, according to the 2020 census, that works out to $217. My attitude is, give me my $217 back. Right. I know how to spend that $217 better than not. When I say you, I don't mean you, Dave, or you, Wild Man. I'm talking you, government. The bottom line is that we have, not we, but collectively, our country, our Congress, our duly elected leaders, we have a poor attitude in terms of stewardship of the taxpayers' dollars. So in my mind, and maybe it's just because I'm just a lowly dude, $1 million is a lot of money, but I realize that $1 million is 0.0000001% of, the dollars that are managed by our government on, over the course of a fiscal year. But it's still $1 million. And you think to yourself, well, what could be done with that $1 million? And I'll bring it back to Rhode Island, and we're all familiar with the ongoing bridge debacle on Route 195, connecting the city of Providence to East Providence and the rest of Southeastern Massachusetts. $72 billion could be a lot of bridge construction. It's a lot of things that can be done with $72 billion that, if it wasn't wasted in the first place, could be reinvested elsewhere, or not even taken through the confiscatory tax scheme that our country uses to begin with.
Speaking of Rhode Island for a quick second, when you speak about waste, the senator there, White House, he was funneling millions of dollars to his wife's ocean conservancy, program.
Yes, and of course, he'll say that he was cleared by the ethics committee and whatnot. But the bottom line is still this: he's voting on funding legislation that either directly or indirectly, and even if it was indirectly, 3 tiers down, it's still ultimately ending up in interests of his wife, whether it's an employer, a former employer, an NGO of some kind. So I think there's more to this story, and I definitely think it's going to be something that's going to continue to be a thorn in the senator's side.
Yeah, I mean, did you guys catch Elon Musk talking on the Rogan podcast the other day?
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
that was eye-opening. It
was scary. It was
scary. He took the step back and said, "Okay, there's fraud, there's money going everywhere, but why?" He asked the question, "Why?" And he said it's entitlement fraud. And he said, intentionally, if you bring a lot of illegals in, and you give them driver's licenses and social security cards, and then plop them in the swing states, actually a few counties in each of the swing states, you can manipulate the national election. So Elon Musk had the idea, or the perspective, that absolutely, he was 100% certain that this was the Democratic strategy to make America blue for eternity. That
a one-party country.
A one-party country. And that is a scary thought, that there is, that strategy behind it all, regardless of the fraud and waste. The purpose of it is to, swing the country to a more socialist standing where the Democrats can have full control. And I tend to be nonpartisan, but that's a scary strategy. And you got to at least consider Elon Musk as someone who knows what he's talking about.
Well, to the point you talked about earlier, Ross Wildman, there, when you spoke about Sheldon Whitehouse getting clearance from the ethics committee, to me, that's like Lucky Luciano getting clearance from Al Capone. I mean, you have to have an outside watchdog agency like an Elon Musk and Doge, the way it's formed, to really look at this. Because inside, yeah, we're going to give a wink and a nod and say, yeah, that's okay, go ahead and do it. Because I know that you're going to let me get away with something. That's the way this whole government scheme has worked. I mean, the money laundering that goes out of the country and it comes back into the country, back into their their campaign coffers and you name it. It's just sickening. And also that interview with Elon Musk, he started to say a few things and then he just stopped. He said, it's worse than you think. That's all he can. It's worse than you think. And he was not prepared to talk about it publicly yet. So that's what I found a little bit unnerving.
I mean, he stated if he came out with certain details, his life would be in jeopardy.
Yes, it already is.
Yeah.
It already is. So
he definitely needs Secret Service protection and then some. So another thing kind of along the same vein of kind of controlling the demographic of a particular of the nation, but certainly the country. Let's jump back for a second. Again, we talked about the 2020 census. So Rhode Island was supposed to lose a congressional seat. We did somehow, and I just very quickly typed in how Gina Raimondo saved a congressional seat, and this report right here is talking about how there were roughly 55,000 people that were double counted. And right, so my point is like, as you're looking at how the House of Representatives is divvied up, you might have 100,000 people. So Rhode Island is right around a 1 million resident state. So we get 2 congressional seats out of that. If 100,000 people leave, you still have the 900,000, or better yet, 950,000, right? Let's make it even closer. So 50,000 people leave because they want to move to tax-friendly states like the free state of Florida, the Carolinas, and so on. And my point is simply this is, so now that we lost 50,000 people and they're dispersed across the country, we now lose a congressional seat. That's one less Democrat, right? Because Rhode Island generally always votes Democrat. So it's just another example about trying to manipulate how the population is made up for the purposes of politics.
And we spoke earlier about what could happen in Wisconsin if a particular Supreme Court judge there in the state of Wisconsin gets elected, how he could help gerrymander that state so that we could end up the Democrats would gain 2 more seats in Congress.
So getting back on our subject of Social Security, one of the things that I came across as well is this is an entitlement program that has some really, really serious fiscal problems in its future, in that it's projected to be depleted by 2033. It's only 7 years away. And as I was kind of thumbing through this article, it kept saying, unless something is done, but they never offered a solution as to what that something needs to be, other than, some of the more obvious ones of raising the age at which you can collect. That was really the only plausible idea that was thrown out to some, but that's like a drop in the bucket. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
The other fix I've heard is right now and I forget what the number is. The first 140,000, I'm not sure the number. You pay Social Security tax on. After that, if you make more than that, you don't pay additional Social Security tax. I've heard proponents say we should just make it a flat percentage, regardless of how much you make, and that would put more dollars in it as well.
The other thing that I saw too was to raise that dollar amount up to an even 400,000. So if you're making anything below 400,000, that is subject to the payroll tax, which then contributes to Social Security. So that would be another thing as well.
Yeah. I did read. We hear all these things from Doge and stuff about the death date being blank in the database, and so we have all these crazy 300, 200-year-old people in the database. Social Security put out a report years ago recognizing that problem. And their response was, it would be too expensive to fix it. So,
Well,
I, so yeah, it's an interesting problem, but let's close this out, and we want to thank everybody for joining us. So now, what do you do? I would encourage everybody to review their news sources. Find out, just don't go to one news source. Find out who says so. How do they find out? And, listen to the opposing side of what you think is true, and contact your Washington reps and support complete government transparency and the Doge efforts. Post what you did at our Facebook 15-Minute Patriot page, and again, you can contact us. Email that's 15minutepatriot@gmail.com. And with that, hope you guys Social Security checks keep on coming, and keep on smiling.
Hey,
yes.
plan for insolvency. Come up with a plan B.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, guys.